Remember Adam said that we need a jingle. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Praise the Pickle podcast, where we talk about video games. Everything that we love, everything that we hate, and everything that we find incredibly mediocre. And that is right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for Season 2.
New, revised,
upgraded,
improved, all that stuff.
Endured. That's the wrong word. I am your host, Mr. Benjamin Watts, and I am joined by the lovely Mr. Daniel Watts.
Good evening.
Good morning. Good morning.
Happens to be that you're listening.
Exactly.
Hi, everybody. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good to be here.
Good. Glad.
15 ways of saying hello.
Buongiorno. Hi. I am also joined by Mr. Kevin Hart.
Sup?
What up, gangster? And finally, I'm also joined by, that's right, there's a fourth person now. We are joined by the infamous, or the famous, I don't know, Adam Skinner.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I liked what you called me in the bit before, Mr. Moonlight.
Mr. Moonlight.
Mr. Moonlight. Oh, that's a dope name, you know.
Yeah, this is Mr. Moonlight. So you may have heard his voice before on our Moonlight specials.
Makes me sound mysterious.
That's what we're just going to refer to you as now, Mr. Moonlight.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I love it. So, we're back. Season 2 has started. We're going to be doing a weekly topical conversation on whatever topic we bloody well choose, right? We're not restricted anymore. It's completely free flow and dope AF. And we have started off with a wonderful bang, a big bang, of the indie game of the decade. So lots of games to choose from, lots of options, and it's going to be glorious. We have already shared our options with each other to avoid any conflicts, etc. So we're all going to go
totally
through...
nothing to do with a failed first take.
Nothing to do with a failed first take. No, nothing to do with the fact that my Audacity screwed up. So let's just go through in alphabetical. Adam, what are your 4 games, please?
My 4 games are Hotline Miami, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Rocket League, and RimWorld.
Wonderful.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go for it.
Binding of Isaac Rebirth. I never understood what that was as opposed to just Binding of Isaac. And then there was another one as well, wasn't there?
There's Binding of Isaac,
Afterbirth,
which is the first game, and then Binding of Isaac Rebirth is the sequel. And then there was a DLC called Binding of Isaac Afterbirth.
Right. That's where I got confused.
And then Afterbirth Plus.
There's too many births.
So there's only actual 2 games.
Yeah, I think that's why I was confused. But thank you for clearing that up, Adam.
That's okay.
You're welcome. My 4 games are Celeste, A Hat in Time, Hollow Knight, and Super Hot VR. Daniel, what are your 4 games, please?
I have Gris, Inside, Journey, my favourite game of all time, which will win, and Papers, Please.
Wonderful. Kevin?
I've got Hellblade, Terraria, Overcooked, and Little Nightmares.
Wonderful. I probably should have explained before we went through our games what we're actually doing with these bloody games. Well, what we're doing is we are facing them off against each other in a tournament style. Is it football? Does football do this? I don't know if football do this, but a tournament style thing. Knockout round. So every game will face off against another game, and they keep facing off against each other until you have the final against the last 2 games left, and then whichever one of those wins is the indie game of the decade. Yes, we did steal this idea straight out of Computer Game Show. I apologise, but we love the idea and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more interesting and it's a great idea. So yeah, thanks guys.
What he really means is we came up with it ourselves, and the fact that it's the same format that the Computer Game Show uses is a complete coincidence.
It's just mere coincidence, yes. So I've written all these games down, and I'm going to put them in a hat.
Is it an actual hat?
It is an actual hat. It is my
what type of
Godzilla
hat?
Juice vape snapback.
Oh, that hat that you were after from the vape shop for like months.
That one, yeah.
Cool.
So, just fold in. Bear with. Right.
I want to get into the fights.
You want to get into the fights, do you?
I've got my weapons at the ready. I've got my armour on.
Probably hear me shuffling around a little bit now. I do apologise.
Every day I'm shuffling.
The anticipation is.
While
palpable.
Ben does that, I want to throw some honourable mentions out there.
Yeah, so these are games that didn't quite make the cut, but they're still bangers. So go.
So got an old school one myself, being Limbo, and a more newer one, which I think still needs a lot of loving, is Untitled Goose Game.
Very nice. I've got quite a lot on my backup list, my honourable mentions. I've got Dead Cells, What Remains of Edith Finch, Suicide
Nice.
of Rachel Foster, Stardew Valley, Arise: A Simple Story, Visage, and Soma.
Yeah, a couple of those are on my list. Seventh Sector is, again, an underappreciated indie game, which, yeah, deserves a mention.
All I had on mine was Super Meat Boy.
Still a banger.
No one else has.
Are we folded?
We're folded. We're ready to go. So,
You guys are
alright.
folded? Cool, that is you and me, Adam. Let's go.
all right, first game out of the hat. So we're going to describe what
chills,
this game
man.
is, and we're going to describe, well, not describe, we're going to describe what the game is and say why we think it should be the game of the
For
decade.
clarification, what happens if one of our games comes up against one of our games?
Doesn't matter.
You fight yourself.
You have to choose one. So,
Really?
but
can,
yeah,
can we
'cause
not
it's-
redraw if that happens? Does that not make more sense?
yeah, you can. Yeah, we'll do that. Fine. It's not a strict rule. Okay, first game out of the hat. Papers, Please, Mr. Daniel. Why is this game worthy of the title of Game of the Decade?
It was released in 2013, so it's getting on a bit now. And at a glance, the art style doesn't look like all that much. It's kind of quite low-res pixel art from the perspective of a booth. And essentially, the game takes place... you're an immigration officer, so you're checking these pixel art animated characters as they come through. They look at you through the window in the booth. They hand over their documentation to you, and you basically say yes or no whether they can come in through the border or they can't. And it's an interesting game because of how surprisingly deep and thoughtful it is, and how much of an empathetic storytelling experience it is with such a simple art style. It's quite political, which is why I kind of picked this to mix in with my other more fantasy-esque games. And quite a lot happens in quite nuanced ways. So the actual gameplay loop is pretty straightforward. You have a house and you have a mortgage to pay or rent to pay, and you've got bills to pay, and you don't really see any of that. You just kind of, at the end of each day, you get a bit of money and you click your things and pay your bills off, and then do another day of work from the perspective of this booth. And the gameplay loop, as you're in the booth, is to check for sort of inconsistencies in the paperwork. So does the picture match the person in the booth? Is the weight right? Is the height right? Is there anything weird going on there? Is there a criminal record or something you should be concerned about? And it was made by a single guy, Lucas Pope, who I think actually worked for Naughty Dog at one point, worked on the Uncharted series, so he's quite a well-known, notorious writer anyway. But what's amazing about it is a wrong choice or sometimes you're presented with a morally questionable choice. So the person will sort of try to persuade you to turn a blind eye, or they'll give you a bit of a sob story about what their background is. And you can choose to let certain people through even if the records don't quite match, or if there's a bit of a gap somewhere. And some pretty crazy stuff happens, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but the sense of responsibility that you have tied into the political landscape that's going on there, it's quite a powerful game, and I don't know, it sort of stuck with me for a long time, and I don't remember the ins and outs of exactly what happened, but it's quite intense, and it's really hard to talk about without spoiling too much, but it's one of those just one-of-a-kind sort of games. Like,
I've heard glorious things about it, to be fair. Like,
nothing
everyone
else
still
is...
talks about it.
Yeah, nothing else has ever been quite like it from my experience.
All right.
Yeah, it's cool.
Good. That sounds interesting. I haven't actually played it. I should probably play it at some point.
It's quite a short game. It's worth playing through for sure.
All right. The next game out of the hat is Mr. Moonlight's RimWorld.
Oh,
I know
the one that
nothing
no one
about
has any
this.
idea
Neither do I.
about.
Give us the quick explanation. Go.
I was really hoping I wouldn't be in the first.
I was hoping Papers, Please wouldn't be in the first.
Bear
as
in
well.
mind that me and Kevin both haven't played any of these games, so you're going to have to do some serious convincing,
Okay.
guys. What you say now is very important.
I don't even know how to explain this one. Okay, so
You've got a minute, go.
RimWorld, it came out in 2016. It had been in early access for a while before that. It's a. Do you guys know what Dwarf Fortress is?
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, it's like that. It's a top-down game. You control a colony and some survivors of a colony from a crashed spaceship, and you've basically got to rebuild so you can hail back a rescue spaceship. But you can do some really wacky stuff, and the biggest bonus of the game is the stories you can create via your playthrough. It doesn't have a story, it's a sandbox game.
Mm.
The story is what you make of it, which I love those kind of games, because you can just do the wackiest stuff and have really memorable adventures. And it's all about... You can just... the stories are mad. You can make, like, organ farms.
My lord.
There's
So
very moral choices that you can just ignore. So you can capture people and harvest their organs, make a slave camp. It's just nuts what you can do in the game, and it's extremely moddable, which is always a bonus. So the replayability of it goes on forever, pretty much, because it's different every time.
What makes it different from other sandbox games? 10 seconds, go.
Just the scope of what you can do, I think.
Okay.
And the sort of management and base building aspect of it.
when you say it's not got a story but you can craft your own, do you mean from the point of view of applying a story via your imagination, or
Yeah, the story comes from your own sort of events that happen in the game and any role play you want to do. There's no story
or
per
anything?
se, but the events that happen in the game create the story for you.
Okay. But there are events within the game, I imagine.
Yeah, there are events within the game that
And they're, I'm assuming
add
they're
to the
randomly
randomness.
generated, or they apply based on what situation you've built up for yourself.
there are completely random ones. When you start a new game, you have a sort of difficulty selector, and that sort of decides how random it's going to be. So you could get like an end game crisis at the beginning if you do the truly random one.
Sounds
Okay.
pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
All right.
It's, I think the way it's themed is you pick a narrator, and
That's
they have
cool.
like names. Like there's a good mod which has H.P. Lovecraft as a narrator, and that throws in a whole load of eldritch monsters to up the difficulty.
I can see why you like it now, Adam.
I do. It's just so moddable. I love moddable games.
All right.
Any game
that's
that's
it.
moddable is a plus. for me.
Enough words from you two. Okay. So it's time to pick, guys. Cast your votes. We'll start with Kevin.
I am going to go for. I'm going to go for RimWorld.
RimWorld 1.
Good job, Kev.
Adam.
I'll go for RimWorld purely because it's also much more replayable.
Fair
I
enough.
feel like. Papers, Please has. I don't know the number of endings off the top
Adam,
of my
you
head.
can be honest. You just want your game to win, okay?
I do, but just RimWorld you can play for hours upon hours and not get bored.
All right.
Whereas Papers, Please.
All right.
you've
That's
seen
enough
it
selling. I've told you
all
now.
After a couple
No
hours.
more words from you, Adam.
I will not be silenced.
Dan.
In an unusual turn of events, I'm pretty sold on RimWorld, you know.
Wow.
And I know that's a strange sort of place to come from because I'm trying to promote and sell this game. Papers, Please is great, but as Adam said, it's basically
It's a one and done.
one-time experience. Yeah, it's a one and done, and it's a really good one and done. And I think one of the awards that it won was something to do with it, something to do with video games as an art form. When I think video games as an art form, especially in the indie world, was quite a relatively novel and new thing that people were experimenting a lot more in this era.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been overshadowed by a lot more artistic and interesting games, in my opinion. I think this game stood out for its time. I don't know how well it would hold up right now in terms of game design, etc.
Well,
I think it's a really special game. I think everybody should play it just to kind of get a sense of that era and everything else. But RimWorld sounds really interesting, and I kind of want to play it already.
All right, cool. And I'm going to give Papers, Please a vote.
Defensive.
I'm giving Papers, Please a vote because I feel like it needs a little bit of loving. All right.
Completely meaningless vote at this point.
Yep. RimWorld.
Credit to Papers, Please. It sort of spawned its own sort of genre of game. Because after Papers, Please, a whole host of sort of copy games came out.
Yeah.
Right, we're moving on. Guys, we're trying to keep this under an hour. You need to stop yabbering. All right, no more yabbering.
Let's talk, Ben. You're rude.
I will not be silenced. Okay, next game out of the hat is Celeste. Let me show you how it's done in 1 minute, okay? Celeste is a glorious pixel art platforming adventure game where you're basically trying to climb up a mountain as a girl called Madeline. Is that her name? Or is that her evil counterpart? I can't remember. But you're climbing up a mountain, essentially, in what is probably the most precise and perfect platforming there is. It's super difficult, but super rewarding at the same time. It has a bit of replayability because there's unlockable stages and all this jazz. But what is probably not expected is the fact that it has it's got a really nice story in it as well. So the whole purpose of climbing the mountain is essentially an analogy for what the main character is going through in her life, essentially. And she has anxiety and stuff like that, and climbing the mountain is symbolic of that. But it's a good example of a game that basically blends the story and the gameplay and everything together really nicely. And it is fucking good. If you haven't played it, you should play it. Next game out the hat is Inside. Danny boy?
Ooh.
1 minute.
This is a tough one because I love Celeste.
Yeah.
Inside is an atmospheric side-scrolling adventure game, puzzle game, I would say.
Yeah.
And made by the same people that made Limbo, Playdead. I think it's special because of basically the amount of atmosphere that it has for such a visually monochromatic game. There's not much in the way of colour or eye-popping visuals, but it's got this sense of depth and world building and immersion that is very hard to come by in a side-scrolling game. It is a 3D game. The ending is wacky as anything. It's mind-boggling.
Yep.
And
there's multiple endings to that game.
I did not, actually.
Yeah, there's a few.
I had no idea there was. That's really cool. I'm going to have to look into that. The ending I got, anyway, was super wacky. And I love the whole dystopian vibe going on. I love the different mechanics to all the different puzzles. It was never too difficult. And the animation deserves a mention as well because you feel physically present in the world, even though you're visually detached from your character at that camera angle. You feel like you're there because of how well the interaction with the objects around you happens. There's a sense of weight and movement to it, which I think is just so memorable. Beautiful game.
Nice. It was over a minute, but you're getting better. Yeah, so this is horrible. I hate this. I hate that this is a stupid idea for a game, because how the hell... Because now, clearly, Celeste is going to get voted out. And this is a joke, and I'm upset now. But we'll vote... I'll start with me, because I know what I'm voting. I'm voting for Celeste.
Who's next?
Whoever. Dan?
I'm not ready to decide yet.
Adam?
I'm voting for Celeste.
Oh!
Ooh.
Kevin's voting Inside, because you haven't played Celeste, I presume? Yeah.
I mean, Inside was second on my choice, so...
Yeah. It's a banger. It's to be fair, this is a really hard choice. Like, really difficult, but Celeste clutches it, man. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say... I'm going to say Inside to spice things up a little bit, because I loved Celeste, but they're both special in their own unique ways.
They are, and they're both glorious games, for sure. But, Dan, you've played Celeste, haven't you?
I have played
So,
Celeste.
have you completed it?
I have I haven't 100%ed it, but yeah.
No. Okay. So you're the only person I can convince here then, because Kevin ain't budging. Dan.
Yeah, we can convince you, though.
No. You can work on Adam if you want, alright, but you ain't moving me. Celeste was
Adam,
number one
Adam,
on my list.
Celeste,
okay.
Yeah, I haven't played Inside.
Inside is the best muted storytelling game there is.
That you've played.
That you've played, yeah.
I think what's a better one then?
Journey?
Arise, arguably. Gris, arguably. Journey, arguably.
Yeah.
If I wanted muted storytelling, I'd just read a book.
Don't think that's how it works, but alright, yeah, I appreciate it. Dan, come on. Celeste, man.
Alright.
Come on.
I would... Celeste
just,
is...
Okay. Just think about pure gameplay. Which game did you have more fun on?
It's not just about fun.
I know it's not just about that. I'm just trying to tweak
Celeste
your brain.
Was more fun, yes. I think Celeste had quite a powerful emotional impact on me. I felt it quite deeply when I played through it. I didn't expect that at all. It really took me by surprise how touching it was. And I love that in a video game. It's one of my favourite things about video games is the emotional story they can tell and the way that it can relate to the audience in such a deep way.
Yeah.
And in a side-scrolling platform where it's quite low res and relatively simple yet undeniably beautiful pixel art, to do that in a game engine like that is really impressive. So yeah, it's a lot of fun and emotionally it's amazing. But I think in terms of actual game design, Inside was something else. Like, straight away within the first 5 minutes, you feel the attention to detail in terms of the environment. Like, the first scene, you're running through the forest and you, like, trip over on a couple of logs and you have to, like, jump into the water and the cars in the background are pulling up and there's this deep tension there. And in terms of the world building and the setting, to do that with basically silhouettes and lights...
Alright, fine. Yes, Inside wins. Inside.
What? No, you can't give up that easily.
No, I'm going
It's
to.
open for a fight.
No, I'm going to, because Inside was phenomenal as well. Like, they were both such good games, and to be honest, everything on this list, apart from maybe a couple, deserve to be like.
You're all winners.
Like, you're all winners, guys. You're all winners. But Inside was ridiculously good. Like, I did love it, and obviously I love horror games, so fine.
I didn't get to my negative aspects of it. I could have convinced you the other way.
No, man. Like, it was.
You convinced him
so
the other
good.
way.
No, it's fine.
He was already the other way.
I think it's fair to point out the negatives of each game.
Nah.
Because like the
This is
ending
about
to Inside
commending.
was wacky. It wasn't that good. The ending wasn't.
Yeah, but you didn't get them all, though, did you?
Yeah, it's true. I didn't
did
know
you,
there was
Kev?
more than one ending.
All right. Anyway,
No,
it's fine. I've changed my vote. Inside is now the winner of the second round.
I'm kind of upset by that.
Well, vote
We're
for
inside
Celeste.
your
Then.
head, Ben.
Dan, if you change your vote
If
to
it makes you
Celeste,
feel
I'll
better.
change it to Celeste.
I refuse to change.
So especially between you guys. You guys agree on
Dan,
what one is.
Dan, come on. What do you think?
Oh,
How beaming were
I
you
can't
when
back-
Celeste finished? Like, how happy
That's
were
true.
you?
That's kind of what I'm thinking of when I say the emotional impact as well. And there were moments in the middle where I was like quite Like, I was genuinely tearing up at
I know.
basically some 2D pictures on the screen talking to each other. I was like, wow, that's.
It was. I know. I'm changing it back. Come on, Dan, change it. You have to change it. You know you have to change it. Come on. Celeste,
I'm gonna change
man.
to Celeste. I loved Inside, but it had its flaws in terms of the story. Celeste is a better
It
game.
was all part of my game. I won.
Dan, are you like
Well, what's
self-sabotaging?
not winning?
Yeah, I
Voting against
kinda-
two of your own.
I have,
All right.
but that won't happen for too much longer. Don't worry.
Next game. You have 1 minute, Kevin. Little Nightmares.
Little Nightmares. It's basically a worse version than Inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's basically the same as Inside. Everything's the same type of gameplay, but it's a bit more gruesome. You're kind of surrounded by, what are they called? Humans eat humans, whoever they are.
cannibals.
Cannibals. There you go. Yeah, basically surrounded by cannibals, and they're like really. It seems like they're surrounded by like really rich, fat cannibals, and you're basically just trying to escape. But then the ending was the ending was a bit wacky to that game. So it's basically a carbon copy of Inside. So I don't know how else to explain it because it basically is a carbon copy. It's just
But
a
it's
different
not.
type of scenario.
The vibe's quite different. I know it's really dark still, but it's like it kind of feels like you're set like in some sort of like Tim Burton world with really weird creatures and yeah, you kind of feel like you're playing as a doll or something. 'Cause you're so small in this massive world. It's like
it's a bit more like hiding from the bad guys rather than solving the puzzles type thing.
It's a banger though. I love that game. Me and Kevin played
so
for it
much
back
fun.
in the day. And then I bought it for
And
Dan,
again, I
he
think it
played
has
as well.
multiple endings as well.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Right.
it did, yeah.
Next game. Rocket League.
Oh, that's mine.
It is 1 minute.
Sorry, I forgot.
You have a literal minute. Okay.
This will be easy. It came out in 2016. It's football, but with cars, with rocket boosters. I mean, what
more can
is
you
literally
want?
that
Even if you
simple.
don't
It's
like
a
the sound of
super
it.
simple concept that's been executed extremely well to make a very fun game. Unless you're playing ranked, and then it's hell. And they've also been adding to it with special game modes. Can't name them off the top of my head because it's been a while. But it's also got a flourishing esports scene, which for an indie game is quite impressive.
True.
It's very
Most
impressive,
indie
yeah.
games don't tend to get an esports scene,
No.
unless you're like League of Legends or something.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket League is the perfect example of a game that seems so simple on the surface, but is actually really like complex in
It's
a way.
just 'cause it's just yeah.
Like learning
It's
to
like
fly
normal
and
football.
stuff in it is mad.
Normal football is just you kick the ball in the goal,
Yeah.
but it's got a lot more depth to it than that.
for sure.
But it's got a very low entry level, but a high skill cap, which is great.
Indeedio,
I
right.
basically completed Rocket League, so yeah.
Yeah, completed it, mate.
Yeah.
Got gold. That's all there is, right?
Right, votes, guys. Who can start? Adam, you can start this one.
Rocket League.
Dan?
Rocket League.
Kevin?
Rocket League.
Oh, alright. I'll go for Little Nightmares then, I guess. Given all these like pity votes today, and
I mean, Kevin didn't sell it amazingly when he said it's a worse version of
it
Inside.
was his
makes
backup
Lost.
choice that it basically got bumped up because Inside already got picked.
They came out at exactly
Yeah,
the same time,
pretty
by
much.
the way, I think. Inside and... Little
Yeah, they
Nightmares.
weren't like copies, as in like plagiarized.
Yeah, but I mean, like
copies.
the general like
The idea is the same.
atmosphere and
For sure.
yeah.
Right.
I would compare... Sorry, just a quick side note. I would say Little Nightmares reminded me of a really dark Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah. I mean, Kevin hasn't seen any, I don't think, has he? So,
What? Okay,
not.
let's move on.
let's
before I
move on.
cry.
We can have a whole episode dedicated to trying to get Kevin to watch more
I've
anime.
seen one of them.
So
God.
game related.
All right, and Adam apparently. Okay, next game out of the hat is the winner already, in my opinion, of the Game of the Decade
Journey.
show. Hollow Knight.
Oh.
Hollow Knight is a game where you play as a little bug with a little nail as a sword, and it's basically a Metroidvania You go into like all these really beautiful atmospheres underground, and it's really hard to explain what this game is. It's basically kind of like, it's got like a Dark Soulsy sort of vibe to it, where like it's really difficult and it's all about precision combat and stuff like that. But it's got some of the most ridiculously beautiful atmospheres, ridiculously beautiful environment. Sorry, ridiculously beautiful music, and it just had me completely like mesmerized from start to finish, and I thought it was one of the best games I have ever played, yet alone indie game. Like, it's just ridiculously good, and I cannot wait for the second one. And if you haven't played Hollow Knight, what are you doing with your life? Go and play Hollow Knight, because it is ridiculously good. And Hollow Knight is going up against Hotline Miami.
That was the one I was hoping it wouldn't go up.
Adam, go.
Because, yeah, Hotline Miami came out in 2012. It's a top-down... I don't know what you would really call it.
Twin stick shooter kind of thing, but...
Twin stick shooter?
It's kind of like a brawler as well.
Yes, yeah. Twin stick shooter, isn't it? Kind of. For you.
I'd actually say it's more like a puzzle game.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's a puzzle game with very quick combat, very quick. Like, you don't have a lot of health, you get killed very easily, but you also kill quite easily. Great soundtrack. It's not pixel art, but it's
along the lines.
I don't know what you would call it.
Simplistic art style.
Yeah. But it's top down, so you only really see the environments, and the characters are sort of top of people's heads, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But the blood looks great, and there's a lot of it.
And it is. I mean, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but
the story
is naff.
Didn't make much sense to me when I played it.
Yeah, the story's naff, man.
But then the gameplay didn't really need a story other than go and kill these people.
Pretty much.
So I was happy enough. The issue is Hollow Knight was on my backup.
What do you mean it was on your backup? It should have been top of your list,
it wasn't on my list was because I never finished it.
I think all three of you are in the same boat. None of you three have finished this, have you?
No.
I hit a point where I just kept dying. So I rage quit.
It is hard, don't get me wrong.
And I haven't gone back to it since.
Right, let's cast our votes then. I'm going to go Hollow Knight, obviously. Kevin?
Hotline Miami.
Adam?
Oh, no. Go Dan first.
Oh.
I will disown you, Dan. I will disown you as a brother. Don't you fucking dare knock Hollow Knight out this early. You cannot do that, Dan.
Do it.
Dan, you can't do it. You can't.
Memes.
Dan.
Also, Dan,
it's a bit more of a toss-up on what's going to win.
I loved Hotline Miami. I thought it was just such a blast to play. Like, sensory overload as well. It's just so tactile and quite psychedelic as well. Like, just very colourful and popping visuals, amazing soundtrack. The story doesn't make any sense, but I quite liked that. It was like, what the hell's going on? I quite like that.
Yeah, I think that adds to like the trippiness.
Yeah, for sure.
Like synthwave was like the perfect like genre of music choice.
Oh, definitely. However, I do think that Hollow Knight takes it, if not for just the art is mesmerizing. The art is genuinely beautiful, and there's no getting around that. I think it has to take the cake. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, Dan. You made the right choice. Adam?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Dan with this one. I think the art kind of seals the deal. Seeing a whole sort of world designed around these bugs, like a civilization of bugs, and how it all works, like how it just like the court of the, can't remember what they're called. You fight three of them at the same time.
Yeah. I can't remember either, but yeah.
But yeah, just like the world building that they did and the art to go along with it, I think just seals the deal for me. So Yeah,
I'm proud of you guys because we genuinely would have lost all credibility as a podcast if we knocked out Hollow Knight in round 1. I'm sorry. It's like pretty sure it's a lot of people's like game of the decade. Like you can't happen, man.
Also, I
really
love a good Metroidvania.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I really wonder what both their choices would have been if you hadn't begged them to choose to agree with you.
I don't care, man. This is the game. Just deal with it.
No, that's why I'm just wondering what it would have.
The choices would have been Hollow Knight because it's the better game. Moving on.
Don't know that.
What feels Hotline Miami 2?
Same thing. Still Hollow Knight. Yeah. It
lost its novelty by that point, in my opinion.
Anyway, Kevin, 1 minute. Hellblade, go.
Wait, you want me to explain Hellblade in 1 minute? I'd rather someone like Dan do that.
You think Dan could do it in a minute? It'll take him about 3 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Hellblade is a game that you play as a girl who. This is so bad. This is going to be so bad. This is not going to do this game any justice.
I know. I'm looking forward to this.
You know what? I'm not going to explain the storyline that much because I'm probably going to get a bit wrong.
Just don't worry about the story. Most of these games everyone knows. So why is this game of the decade? Go.
It makes you kind of go crazy. You spend the entire game having 2 people whispering in each of your ears. Bear in mind, this game you have to play with a headset, otherwise there's no point in playing this game. And you have to fight against what you believe is to be right and what these people are telling you to be the correct answer, or like how to proceed. It's got very, very clever puzzle aspects to it, as well as the combat system, which I think early on it can be a bit simplistic, but later on it's actually I thought it was quite good towards the end of it. The story itself makes most of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, there you go, there's your minute.
I'll leave it as that, yeah. Give that 1 minute.
Next game is... Alright, that's Kevin's game, I'll put that back. Binding of Isaac. That's all your games in that, Adam.
Oh, come on. You can't give these together. These 2 would be my top 2.
Very different game to Hellblade. Binding of Isaac is a top-down roguelike. Is it roguelike or roguelite? I never know the difference, but it's a sequel to Binding of Isaac. You play Isaac, who is running away from his mum into the basement, and he encounters a whole load of monsters and stuff while he's down there. It's got a very sort of biblical theme. Your mum wants to kill you because she thinks God told her to. It's
quite dark.
It's very dark, yeah. Your main weapon is your tears. There's a lot of poop. One of the enemies is literally just the bloated corpse of a baby.
Yeah.
It's very dark, but it's done in a very, I wouldn't say cheerful art style, but
light-hearted.
Yeah, I'd say light-hearted art sort of.
But I guess the art style is kind of a juxtaposition, isn't it, in itself? Where it's like, the art is the opposite of the feeling of the game, but but it works because if it was like the same dark atmosphere as like Inside, for example, but it had that story to it, it would just be a depressing experience.
especially because like all the items you pick up, they change your appearance to what you've picked up, and some of them can be so ridiculously weird and funny
and it's a very replayable game with a lot of unlocks, new characters, new levels that you unlock, secret stuff. Every run is different. It's just extremely replayable.
Yeah,
it's another game that has a really good modding scene, which just adds to the replayability.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess the main reason that
soundtrack's pretty good.
It is. It's basically the perfect example.
It's all made by one guy.
I didn't know that. It's the perfect example of a game that is a good rogue-like game because, like, I've played a lot of roguelikes, but this one, the amount your character changes according to what you pick up is insane. Like, you can get just ridiculous abilities and stuff by the end of it.
This is by far the creme de la creme of roguelikes. I feel like when the first Binding of Isaac came out, it sort of popularised the genre a bit more. So then a lot of these other roguelikes started coming out.
Yeah, it's
and then Rebirth came out and just improved upon the first one so much.
Yeah, I mean, I've played tons of. I'm not like I said, I played a lot of roguelikes, not because I'm a biggest fan. It's because every now and then I'm like, oh, I fancy playing a roguelike, and then I never really get into it. So the fact that I've played as much Binding of Isaac as I have is quite telling as to how good it is. But
and it's still being updated.
That's mad. Right, votes, guys.
It came out in 2014.
Yeah, that's pretty mad. It's still updating it 6 years later. Right, votes. I'll start. It's got to be Hellblade for me, I'm afraid. I love Binding of Isaac, but Hellblade is just insanely good. I mean, we've had many, many episodes of me defending it against against
the Happy
someone,
Pickler.
the Happy Pickler. Yeah, so you already know my opinions on it. I think it's a 10 out of 10 absolute masterpiece. Even if I didn't.
That's a point.
What?
Now I've played it as well. It's kind of it's like all three of us against.
Yeah, yeah. Adam, you should have to play it now. Anyway,
I started it, but I didn't get very far. I don't know why.
You should persevere, definitely. It can seem a bit like at the start, but
I didn't sort of stop it for any sort of negative reason. I think I just
Stop.
I played it for a bit, and then I think something else that I was really looking forward to came out, so it went on the back burner a bit.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, what are you voting?
As a person who I've never really played that many story games, and I managed to complete this game in basically a day. I like it that much.
It's the best way to do
but it will have to be Hellblade. But I'm very sad. I kind of wish Binding of Isaac was against something else.
Yeah, so do I. I'm sad to see Binding of Isaac go for sure. Dan?
It's not a first round Dexter.
Without a doubt, as much as I love the genre that Isaac pulls off or popularized, it has to be Hellblade for me, mainly because of the approach and the careful consideration for mental health and some of the impacts it has on people. Like it's a profoundly well thought out and researched game that attempts to do something and display a perspective that you don't get to experience very often in an extremely immersive and frankly uncomfortable way. I think it just shows what you can do with video games and some of the ways it can tell a story or teach people a certain thing or give people a different perspective on life, just in this unique, amazing, versatile art form. It's one of a kind. I can't vote against that. I'm sorry.
It's definitely a game that being stressed in this game is good. Like it makes you stressed with the constant talking, but it's so good.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the only thing that made me think not to vote for it is the fact that although it's technically been self-classified as a AAA indie game, it is still made by a AAA studio.
Yeah,
and they had a lot more funding.
Surely, by our definition, doesn't that disqualify it?
That's kind of what I was
I
thinking.
mean,
it was 20 people with a relatively big budget, but
20 people. Binding of Isaac was one guy.
Yeah,
I think that we should give Hellblade mad creds, but now that I think about it, I am questioning as to whether it's an indie game. I know it came up on loads of indie game lists and stuff, but I am questioning as to whether it is an indie game at all.
The thing is, for the reason it's quite a unique definition of indie AAA, and in terms of the quality of the product, like the visuals and the sound design and the actual tangible assets that are there, it's for the budget that they put into it, it's something quite special. Like, it's a very, very small budget compared to other games within that category, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So it still kind of works relatively as an indie title in the AAA world, but yeah, I get what you mean.
What do you reckon, guys? Do we just send.
I say we
Hellblade.
give Binding of Isaac the we'll give Hellblade the credits, and it was borderline potentially there. But I say, by our definition, we should actually disqualify it.
Yeah. Is there any other game you want to replace it with, Kev?
Oh, Untitled Goose Games, do it.
Alright. It doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't matter because it's not going to win.
It's not going to win against Binding of Isaac anyway.
Just about, I feel like I would vote for Hellblade once I've played it.
Yeah.
Purely just for the setting.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That dark, gritty Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to diving into that.
Yeah, you definitely. Honestly, man, if you just dedicate an evening to it, you can complete it in like 6 hours, maybe. Just say I'm gonna play for it all in one day, and it's freaking intense, but it's a good intense. Right.
I always love like grim representations of mythology because I feel they always get a bit sort of toned down by like modern media.
Yeah.
Like having Thor and stuff appear in the Marvel, or like having Disney do the Hercules film.
Yeah.
People think it's all these cheerful stories where most myths are actually like tragedies and stuff.
This game is anything but toned down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why.
It is the pole opposite of toned down.
To be fair, I saw the trailer for the second one.
Yeah. That's quite
and
intense.
I was like, yeah, I need to play this game.
Yeah.
Right, moving on.
Let's call it Binding of Isaac.
Binding of Isaac
I'm confused
is
too.
through. Okay. Next game is Gris. Go on, Dan. Very quickly. I know you could talk about this for hours. Come on.
I could, side-scrolling, artistic, watercoloured, beautiful game that focuses a lot on synergy with the music, but it's not a music game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's got quite a lot of abstract world building in a way. Like there's lots of strange, relatively alien environments. There's forests and floating cities and upside down cathedrals and underwater areas and all that sort of stuff. But it's a very streamlined, linear, but just beautifully muted narrative that has no dialogue in it per se. Highly emotional journey. It makes you cry, makes you smile, gets your heart pounding. It's just stunning.
Yeah.
It's a work of art. Like
if I had to describe it, I would say it's like playing through the mind of an artist. So essentially, you start off with a muted color palette, and it gets more and more color gets added. So you're sort of, it feels like you're playing through the process of painting a masterpiece, sort of thing.
That's quite a good way to put it.
It's an amazing game. I dread. I'm sorry. Whatever game I pick out of the hat next. Overcooked. Go on, Kev.
Overcooked is a. You can play it single player, but it's best of 2-player couch co-op. Where you work together to, as a chef, as two chefs in a restaurant, and you have to prep all the meals for your customers, and you have to make sure nothing gets burned. And it's very teamworky. It's very fun, very energetic, and although it's probably a bit of an unusual one for me to pick, considering I've only played a handful of games of it, but I'm waiting because I only started playing it during lockdown, and I'm kind of waiting to play it with my girlfriend, so I haven't played that much. But the game was by far probably one of the most fun games I have ever played. It was
so good.
And it's a very different game to a lot of games out there in that way, mainly because it works so well 2-player.
And I think one of the best things about it is the fact that anyone can play it, even if you don't play games. It's such an accessible game. Like honestly, if you guys are in lockdown now and you're stuck with someone, you know, your wife or husband or whatever, and they don't play games and you do, Overcooked is the best game like to get them into. It's just so fun and fast paced, and it's just pure chaos half the time, but it's just brilliant, man. It's such a good game.
You know what, everyone plays games, whether or not it's someone playing Bejeweled or Candy Crush on their phone. everyone probably at one point has played a game very similar to this game, but it's just been made into a bit of a bigger, more eccentric version of it. But it's like you said, even if you don't even play games, if you play this with someone, you will love it.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Yeah. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about it. Anyway, votes. Cast your votes, guys. Dan, do you want to start? Because yours is obvious.
Chris.
Yeah. Adam.
Overcooked.
Kevin.
Boy.
Yeah.
Overcooked.
Being controversial.
Well, I'm not voting against Chris. One of you guys is going to have to change because Chris is like me and Dan. Didn't we let Chris go out really early in the Game of the Year show?
No, you didn't. It came joint first.
Did it?
Did it?
Didn't it win?
No, it came joint first.
Oh, maybe it was
with
a Rise that
Resident
went out
Evil.
early. I don't know. Oh, come on, man.
I'm gonna change it to Chris. I mean, one of the bad things I've heard about the game is if you go the wrong way, it takes you forever to have to go back the right way. So I can't board with that kind of stuff. It's wasting my time.
What?
That's horrible. 0 out of 10 game.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the worst excuse
Do you
I've
remember
ever heard.
that guy's criticism when one of our social media posts we put up, and he was saying that Gris, that if you go the wrong way because you can't run or it's because you walk so slowly, it takes you forever to get back on track.
It's just bonkers, man.
He's my boy now.
Gris is a masterpiece, man. I can't.
It's genuinely a masterpiece.
My wife will literally kill me. So if you value my life, I cannot.
What's the gameplay like?
The gameplay.
Because
Dry.
I know nothing
really.
about Gris.
Yeah,
It's a
dry.
platformer.
Platformer.
Bit of puzzling as well, but mainly platforming.
You can't die. So there's no.
Can't die.
Yeah, there's no worry of failing.
You can't die.
You can't die. So you can keep doing whatever you want and you'll never die. So it's just, what's the point? I mean, admittedly, there is no end goal to it because all you're doing is going from left to right without a challenge.
Is it a game if you can't lose?
No, not really.
It's definitely an interactive art experience.
And this
There's
is an
not much
indie
in the way of
game.
challenge.
But is that
It's not a game.
Yes.
Yes, it's a game.
an interactive art experience? That doesn't sound like a game.
Oh, I can't. My wife will kill me.
See, I'm not into these
No.
artsy fartsy
No,
games.
my wife has played Gris and she's played Overcooked, right? So she has a leg to stand on here, right? And she will literally kill me if I pick Overcooked over Gris. She would.
Well, I haven't played either, so I feel like I'm impartial, which gives me two legs to stand on.
It's the synergy of interaction, music, and visuals that tie it together. I don't think there's any other art form that you can get that level of
A film?
Yeah, film.
interaction. Where's the interaction in watching a movie?
There's no interaction
There's
in that game.
Black
All you're
Mirror
doing-
where
you're
you
not-
can choose what path to take. Boom.
What?
There's a Black Mirror episode where you can choose.
Okay,
There is,
apart
it
from
sucked.
that, yeah, it was pretty awful. But apart from that,
It's-
Adam,
We're going off topic.
I'm doing some research into Gris just because I literally don't really know anything about it other than what you've told me,
yeah.
and it doesn't look like something I would. I'm okay with
Doesn't it look
like-
so dead?
games as an art piece, but it still has to have like a game behind it.
If there's no challenge, what's
There's
the point?
puzzles. There's puzzles in it.
Yep.
You can't
Is
progress
there
unless you solve the
puzzles?
puzzles. And then they're kind of woven together with really nice platforming parts.
Can you describe some of the puzzles for me?
Okay,
Just
okay.
One
For example,
puzzle comes to mind.
let me explain the one of the more interesting ones. There's a world like a kind of like a city in the sky sort of thing, where there's a midway point just cut in half, and the gravity changes whenever you go over that point. So if you look at your screen and imagine a horizontal line going across it, so every time you go past the halfway point, the gravity changes, and you have to use that to maneuver across, basically.
There's also mirror worlds, so you've got like these beautiful palaces, and then the mirrored version in the reflection of the water. But there are differences in the top and the bottom version and the reflective version, so you have to navigate through one version
Using the
spot
mirrored version.
reflection on the other side.
I'll be honest. None of this sounds groundbreaking.
But okay,
This all sounds like puzzles I've experienced in other games.
Yeah, but not combined with a.
But with a nicer art. Whereas Overcooked, what's where I forgot that to speak.
At the end of the day,
where can I get another experience like Overcooked other than Overcooked 2?
And we said that Overcooked, anybody can play that game and they'll have fun and they'll enjoy it. Gris,
plus it's
not everyone will play that game and
Gris
have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, but this is
replayable.
Remember, we were going to try and keep this under an hour, but I can't change. I can't do it, man. I can't. Gris was amazing.
Overcooked is the hill roll dial. It's not even my choice.
Would you reckon?
Why are you so adamant, Adam? Why are you so adamant?
I just
Adam.
I don't know. I feel like from what I've seen, Gris doesn't really offer anything new other than the art. I feel like from what I've seen, it's very much done before stuff, but with nicer presentation. And is that enough to make it Game of the Decade?
You can have a game that takes lots of elements that have been experimented with or used before, but gets all of those elements, synergizes them with each other in a way that's frankly perfect, and just is a masterclass in every one of those storytelling forms. And that can still be an amazing game. Just because it doesn't do anything particularly new, it doesn't have to.
I mean,
but it does though. Like the whole idea of the game, right, is that this is how I've interpreted it as well. Everyone interprets it differently, but is that
that's a good point.
Basically this woman goes through some sort of trauma in her life, and this is kind of like a dream world sort of thing. And the reason it starts off black and white is essentially she's overcoming certain things, barriers for her recovery, essentially. And every time she overcomes one of those barriers, more colour gets added to another colour palette gets added to the world, which basically it like symbolises her getting past her trauma and things like that. It's just honestly,
it's her trauma being
colourblind. That's what just comes under the presentation part.
Oh, you can't.
Which I'm not arguing. The presentation part looks very good.
I'm changing my my vote only for the fact that neither of these games at the end of it is going to win it, and this needs to move on. So
yeah, it's a fair argument.
Yeah,
I think it's just because I haven't played Gris,
and I mean
that I can't sort of. It might just be one of those things where you have to play.
Maybe,
to get it.
It's hard one to
describe.
Admittedly,
it's not for everybody. It's one of those games that's not for everybody. But for the people it is for, it's genuinely something really, really outstanding. Like, really special.
All right, anyway, let's move on. Gris is through. Thank you, Kevin. I knew if we kept it going long enough, it would change. Now we're going to go
Backdrop,
really quick.
Kevin, this is what you do.
We're getting to...
Don't worry, but Adam, my God. It isn't going to win, so it's fine.
We'll see. It's going to be a 5-hour podcast. All right, Daniel, Journey, go. Very quick this time.
Genuinely my favourite game of all time. You play as a cloaked figure who can jump around, slide around in desert environments. You can also beep and boop with the press of a button. You can make little rings and bells and notes to sing, essentially, to the environment, and that allows you to interact with different components in this very beautifully rendered 3D world. You're presented with a light at the top of a mountain. No other explanation as to what's going on, really, so it's quite obvious. You have to head to the mountain, and throughout this journey there's platforming bits, there's puzzle bits, there's lots of avoiding pretty terrifying enemies. And it plays on this sense of isolation and loneliness in this big, vast, open space. But again, it's beautiful and the music is incredible. One of the special things about this game is the sense of attachment to another player that you will probably find yourself randomly encountering in the world. it doesn't tell you it's an online game necessarily, but you'll find yourself halfway through the journey seeing another cloaked figure in the forest and forming a connection and going through the game with them, namelessly, wordlessly. And the only way of interacting that you have is touching each other in the game, which gives you a boost to your flight, gliding mechanics, and beeping and booping and mimicking each other's sounds and notes to each other. It's a very abstract game, but it's one that every time I play through it, it just leaves nothing is like the first time you play through this game. It's one of a kind. It's genuinely one of the most memorable gaming experiences I think you can have.
Agreed. And it also has one of the best soundtracks to any game I've ever heard.
Without a doubt, it's an orchestral soundtrack. I can't remember who composed it, but it's amazing.
I like this. Do you want to hear what it's up against?
I've forgotten. What is it?
Well, I haven't said yet. That's why.
Oh.
Journey is up against Terraria.
Oh. Terraria is a one of a kind.
God, this is this crap now.
There is loads and loads of progression. Well, it has one of the best progression systems in this game. Every single time you do anything in this game, you feel like you're progressing it just a little bit further, but not too much, so that you feel like you can just walk through this game. It requires a lot of teamwork, lots of discoveries, treasure. One of the main premises is you are digging around, but there's loads of ways that aid you to dig and find new new places to go. Loads of items you can fly, and also you have the little aspects of creativity, where you can build your own house, make your own place look really nice. Lots of decorations for you creative, arty-farty people out there. Yeah, and it's definitely probably the best game of the decade.
Okay. So just for context, I don't hate Terraria. It might sound like I hate it. I don't hate it. I don't think it's as good as some people make it out to be, like Kevin. Right, so votes. I'm voting for Journey. Dan?
Journey.
Adam?
Oh no.
Terraria.
I hate you.
It's impossible for me not to pick Terraria because I've never played the other game. Terraria is sick.
I feel like I'm going to have a very short stint in the Praise the Pickle podcast.
Don't worry, Adam, I've got you because you're backing me, but because these things are going on for a very, very long time, and again, I just don't think either of these are going to win it, I'm just going to pick Journey.
I'm not budging on Journey. It's my favourite game of all time.
Yeah, but there's three other people that can choose against you, so it's fine.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but in that situation, it was never going to win because I don't even like Terraria that much. And the last two games are both my games. That worked out well.
Yeah, I was going to say a bit of a weird way of doing it. But...
Yeah, it's alright, doesn't matter.
How did that work out? Didn't we... I don't know, maths.
That's alright. So, my first game is A Hat in Time. A Hat in Time looks to just be a bit like a Mario 3D World kind of thing, but it is one of the most adorable, just fun, platformy... It's glorious. So my wife, who doesn't play that many games, this is what, in fact, at this point she barely played that many at all. We played something like 20 hours of A Hat in Time over 2 days, and then we finished. And a little part of me was like, "Oh, okay, we're finished. I can go and play something else now." And she was like, "But what about the DLC?" So we had to buy all the DLC and play all of that as well. And it is just amazing. It's a Kickstarter funded project. And it's just amazing. And if you just need a pick me up, if you're feeling low ever, just play A Hat in Time, because it is just so good, so fun, so just full of life and energy, and it's just great. It's a brilliant game. And
from what I've seen, it reminds me of a 3D Mario game.
That's I literally started with that, Dan.
Did you? Oh, sorry. my headset's not.
That's right. Yeah, I said it's kind of like a 3D Mario game, but in my opinion, this is going to be very controversial, but in my opinion, it's better than a lot of Mario games. I know.
Damn.
Sorry to the Mario fans out there. And my other game is Super Hot VR specifically. So Super Hot is a game where everything moves as quickly as you move. That is how the game works. The normal Super Hot game works. So, of course, the logical thing to do is port that into VR, and it is so good. Basically, you're presented with loads of little arenas, kind of like Hotline Miami style, where you walk in and there's X number of enemies, and you need to kind of puzzle your way through it and kill them all in the right order and stuff. But the mechanic of the time slowing mechanic is just glorious. It is one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had, and different as well. I wanted to get a VR game in here because it's just insanely fun. Honestly, like I wish there was a bit more content to it because it's not that long, and you can do pretty much anything you think you can do. So you could just run at an enemy and take the gun out of his hand. If you want to do that.
Was it you at my house the first time you played it, where you were literally crawling around on the floor behind like virtual cabinets and things, like because you run out of bullets and you didn't know what to do?
Yeah, and I was throwing like ashtrays at them and all sorts. It's just such a fun game. It's a weird matchup here because both these games are just ridiculously fun. So yeah, guys, cast your votes. I'll vote at the end because I'm happy with either one going through. So.
I know what I'm picking, so I might as well go. I'm picking Super Hot VR, mainly because I played it and haven't played Hat in Time, but also because I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to technological progression in video games. So any game that sort of pushes the boundaries of what's possible, and that game does something with virtual presence in the virtual space, where you feel like you're there in that environment, which I think is something that is to be strived towards, and naturally is the direction that we're going in. And to do that so early with such a simple art style, they've done something truly special there. And and at the same time, it's just an absolute blast to play. You feel like you're playing like John Wick or something like that.
Yeah, it's so good, man. All right,
it's crazy good.
Adam.
Yeah.
I haven't played either of these games.
Mm-hmm. So based on my description.
Based on your description, I'm not a big fan of VR.
Same.
So I'm going to go with the other one, Hat Out of Time.
Yeah, Hat in Time. Isn't it a Hat in Time? Oh, God, I
in
hope it's a
Time.
Hat in Time. Was
Yeah, it's a Hat in Time, I'm sure.
Cool. Kevin?
I'm going to go for the VR game, just because I think... I'm not the biggest fan of VR, but if it's done with a nice, like, in a really good way and a fun way, I think it has a lot of potential. I like it. So, yeah.
You've played it, haven't you, Kev? You played it around mine.
I don't think I have played it. I think every single time I ever go to play a VR game with you, you always decide to give me a scary game to play, so...
Fair enough.
That's probably one of the reasons I don't like VR
Alright,
that much.
well, I love both of these games, so I'll just go for Super Hot just to save time. Cool. Right, now the hard bit is over. Well, it's not really, but the hard bit in terms of describing all the games is over because we've already done that now. So now I've got all the winners here. I'm just going to shuffle them up, give them a little shuffle.
There's bound to be one or two difficult ones here.
I mean, yes.
These are all of our favourites.
I just can't wait for Journey versus Hollow Knight.
Journey.
Hell no. Right, first game, Journey.
Whoa!
Second game, RimWorld. What do you reckon, guys?
No question.
Cast your votes.
Sorry, it's Journey.
RimWorld.
Ben?
You just want to save time. I know what you're like. Oh, well, I've played Journey and I loved it. So Journey.
Yes, Journey.
It
isn't
votes don't mean anything by this point.
It isn't because of that. It's not because of that. It's just it's more simply because I kind of like the idea of playing Journey more.
Yeah, fair enough.
You should play Journey.
I don't know whether or not it's just because Dan has drilled it into my brain, but
everyone that I've made play it has loved it.
Next two games.
I will admit, RimWorld is a bit of an acquired taste.
Yeah, that's kind of why I envisioned.
Next two games
I do want to play it though.
are Hollow Knight and Super Hot VR. Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. That was easy.
Well, I would go super hot, but yeah.
Yeah, so would I.
What?
Really?
Oh,
I was not expecting that.
I just.
You haven't even played it, Kevin.
Yeah, I know, but it might sound ridiculous. I just didn't really like Hollow Knight that much.
Come on! What is wrong with you? Oh, that is ridiculous!
I think Hollow Knight is the more complete experience.
Super hot is the more progressive, forward-looking experience.
I don't give a shit. All right.
More fun too, frankly.
No, Hollow Knight is a like a pure masterpiece. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Deep breaths, Ben. Deep breaths.
I think it's the barrier to entry is a bit high for Hollow Knight. I think they could have made it a little bit more accessible to allow more people to fully appreciate it.
I mean, people should just get good.
I knew you'd say that, but Kevin said before we started recording, when Adam joins, we're going to hear "get good" so often. No, for the fact that Super Hot VR, even for a brief moment, made me completely forget I was in VR. Like, my body in VR space was my actual body in my subjective experience. That was literally like teleporting me to a completely alternate reality, just for a few moments. I can't let that experience slip to a 2D side-scrolling.
You just like whack a few bugs in it, like.
Oh man, this is outrageous. Honestly, the fact that these
Kevin's
are both
just teasing you because of the Terraria.
These are both my games, right? These are both my games, and Hollow Knight is the clear victor here. There is no competition here. Hollow Knight is like just one of the best games ever made. Like,
Also, Super Hot VR. It's very unoriginal because there's Super Hot non-VR.
yeah, it's just a port of a game. Yeah,
It's basically just a copy.
yeah, bastards.
But I think they genuinely considered
Plagiarism.
They considered of their own game. They considered the prospect of VR when they made the original, for sure. It was the perfect game to port to VR. It was like built for it. There's no doubt about that.
We're going to be sitting here for a while, guys. Because
How can you say that Hollow Knight's got a bigger barrier to entry when
VR, Super Hot
Okay,
VR requires the
financially
VR.
and
You gotta
hardware-wise, yeah,
make
of
a much-
course,
yeah,
it's harder.
it's a much
but in terms,
bigger.
once you've got your hands on, and the thing with VR, when VR first became a thing, the perfect way to experience it was to find somebody that had a headset and just try theirs out. That's kind of what was encouraged. So shorter experiences. Bring a friend over, make them play it and experience it firsthand, because you can't show VR on a screen, right? You can't explain to somebody what it's like until they've tried it themselves. So I think there's something...
Well, the lonely people out there that have no friends.
None of this matters. Hollow Knight is the
all my friends
victor.
are poor.
Hollow Knight wins. There's no way. There is no way Hollow Knight is
But
going out
does
on
it? I mean,
Super
it seems
Hot.
like it's a
It
draw.
can't happen. There's only like a couple of games here that I would be willing to beat Hollow Knight.
Can we get Super Hot kicked out on a technicality? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Adam's going to call his lawyer mates up.
Turns out it was published by Sony.
All right, fine, I'll concede. Hollow Knight was an amazing piece of art and a lot of fun to play, but...
Kevin, you are wrong. I can't believe you, to be honest.
I mean, I played a fair amount of that game.
I'm only conceding now, so I don't have to concede later when it comes to my other games.
Alright, next two games. Binding of Isaac and Gris.
Well, that's an easy winner there.
Is it?
Yep.
I don't know about that.
Binding of Isaac, mate.
Gris barely got out the first round, so...
Yeah. I mean, Binding of Isaac technically lost.
Yeah, we're still stuck in the same
We
situation, though.
disqualified the other one.
Yeah, Binding of Isaac only got through due to a technicality.
That's a good point. Ben, I'm having a deja vu. This happened in Game of the Year. I'm sure it did.
What, of Gris?
Yeah.
Do you know why it happened? Because I had never voted for Gris. It was never going through.
He's doing it to spite us.
It
Ben.
is. It's ridiculous.
It's not even because
Binding
of
of
that.
Isaac
The game
is a
just
better
looks...
value for money as well.
It is. You play Gris once,
How much
that's
is
it.
Gris?
You never play it again, really, with you. Have you? How many times have you guys played Gris?
You're
hours have you
comparing
sunk
two
Gris?
different genres of game. It doesn't work like that.
Hey, listen, I've got Binding of Isaac. I don't even know which one it is. This is why I asked that question at the beginning about what the difference between the versions is. It's on my shelf over there. I can't see it from this angle. I have no idea which version it is, birth or rebirth or afterbirth or pre-birth or double birth. I don't know, but it's I played it for a couple of hours. It was kind of cool, but Dead Cells was better.
Dead Cells is better,
Yeah.
I mean, Grish has been on Xbox Game Pass for how long now? And it hasn't even piqued my interest to even think about downloading
Yeah,
it.
but it's not your thing, Kev. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's
Bad
fine.
taste, Kev.
Okay, then you're gonna have to convince Adam to change. But
No, he's not. No. In this case, I'm gonna concede. I'm gonna, because I haven't conceded yet, and I've played a lot of Binding of Isaac, and it is a really good game. Gris is arguably. You can't even compare them. That's the issue with this one. It's just such a horrible way to do it in a way, because they're so different. You know, like. Yeah, but I'll vote for Binding of Isaac just because it is a very, very, very good game. All these games are great games. Don't get me wrong.
Game, yeah.
But yeah, okay.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry. It had to be done. You still got one more horse in the race. Wait, have you? No, you haven't.
Binding of Isaac's through again.
Oh no, you have. You got Journey.
Yeah, I've got Journey. Journey's not getting.
All right.
knocked
Next
out.
two games are Celeste and Rocket League.
I'm going Celeste straight up.
Yeah, Celeste. Yeah, for sure.
it's like Ben and Dan versus Adam and Kevin.
I'm so glad Dan's here, man. Honestly.
I want to say, Rocket League, when playing with friends, is an incredibly enjoyable experience, much more than Celeste.
I mean,
On its own,
can't play Celeste with friends, so.
not so much. But then the story for Celeste didn't really do anything for me. I'll be honest. It was sort of just there. But then that might just be a problem with me.
You've got a heart.
Yeah, just insensitive.
Soulless bastard.
But then Rocket League doesn't have any story, so it's still.
Yes, it does. It's the story of your own journey to the top.
Kevin, what are you voting for? You're voting for Rocket League, I presume.
Rocket League, yeah. I mean, I took one look at Celeste and I was like,
Why?
Oh, Celeste was really good.
I feel like we need to do this again next year. Like, honestly, I think we should do the same games again next year and just try and get Kevin to actually play them and see what happens. Because I genuinely think that you would really like Celeste, regardless of whether you like the story.
You know what? Yeah, I probably will like Celeste, and I still have the idea of playing Celeste. Like, it's not off my radar. It's just I need to get into that mode of wanting to put myself through pain.
We should all play all the games on the list next time.
We should do a revisit.
I mean, I wouldn't say Celeste was fun, but it was very satisfying when you made progress.
Yeah.
Rewarding.
Which is yeah. But then Rocket League is also rewarding.
Yeah, isn't it?
When you win.
I mean,
So
it is, but...
Ben, think of them times we had at university. Think of the
but,
journey we had.
Yeah, but what's the reason we enjoyed it more, Kevin? Come on.
Because we were in each other's arms.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Yeah.
We was together.
Yeah.
We went through the journey together, our story
the
together.
wacky backy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I have enjoyed Rocket League without inhaling illegal substances.
I didn't say anything about illegal substances, alright?
no.
God.
Oh no, I did say you did. Sam, got a guilt conscience.
I mean, it seems as if there's more sway towards Celeste than there is Rocket League in general.
Well, Adam hasn't even voted yet. He's just been like toying with the idea.
yeah,
He's like
that's
playing with his food.
Yeah,
I think Celeste is a more memorable
I mean,
experience.
I
I mean, more people play Rocket League now than they do Celeste.
Yeah, but once you finish the
I
game
mean,
of Rocket League, it's done, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, I won that game or lost that game, and that's it. You forget about that game.
Yeah, but once you finish
Forever.
Celeste, you're like, oh, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
No, I still remember Celeste quite fondly. Lots of.
I still remember that one game I played.
Oh,
Rocket
I sort
League.
of meant like you don't come back to it.
Kev, why haven't
I
you played
remember
Rocket
some
League since
absolute
uni?
screamers that I scored
I
in
have.
Rocket League.
Damn it.
played it many times on Xbox.
It's really hard because I both really enjoyed both of them, but for very similar reasons as well.
I'm voting Celeste.
So we got to do, boys. Just
Celeste
play
is there.
time. Play time.
Adam didn't even get to choose.
No, it doesn't matter what he chooses.
I'm
It'll
gonna
be 3 against
filibuster
1.
every choice.
There's a reason that Kevin hasn't got any games left in the running.
Wait, don't
Play
I?
time. No, you don't.
Oh, why not? Oh, fair dues.
Yeah, I'm happy with voting for Celeste as well.
I mean, technically,
It's
I'm
very
taking
close.
Inside as my game, so
I mean, that's not it
All
either.
Celeste
so.
needs to do
Inside's
is
not
to
in
get an
it.
esports scene, and then it's sort of,
There's a speedrunning scene, to be fair.
yeah. Well, speedrunners are weird. Though.
That's true.
All right, first 2 games in the
Very weird
semi-finals. You ready?
Game's done quick.
Yeah,
Wait, where did Inside go?
Inside went out.
it got knocked
To
out.
what?
Binding of Isaac versus Celeste.
Wait, are we already at the final round?
This is semi-final.
The-
There's 2 more.
Wow.
Oh.
Binding of Isaac
went
versus
quick.
Celeste. Celeste for me.
Celeste for me.
Oh, this is impossible. This is so stupid.
2 hours on Binding of Isaac.
It really needed to be something like Gris. Oh wait, that means it's Gris versus.
Gris isn't in.
Journey.
It's Journey versus Hollow
Oh.
Knight's the next one.
Hey, I got what I wanted.
What do you mean?
As in, I wanted them two to face each other because both you two ain't gonna budge on your games.
Well, no.
He's trying,
Anyway,
he's trying to sabotage our relationship, Ben.
I know. How dare he?
He's manufactured this entire thing to make sure that we go up against each other in the final round.
What do you vote for, guys?
I mean,
Celeste.
it's got to be Binding's like one of my most played games
Yeah, same.
in the whole entire decade.
Celeste.
It's not about most played, though, is it?
What?
It's not just about.
Yeah,
most
ours does
played.
not equate to quality. Ours equates
It really
to
Yeah,
does.
but it shows
addiction.
that I still love it even after those hours. Yeah, true. Does show a little bit of addiction. Oh, it's
don't budge, Adam. Okay, you know what?
Yeah,
me
don't-
and you have budged too many times on all these. We can play time all we want. I don't
Well,
care
it's-
anymore.
It's because me and Dan are very passionate about our games. Okay.
Wait,
the
When
problem
did
is
Adam budge?
Celeste feels it Binding of Isaac fills a hole that nothing else really replaces for me.
Yep.
Whereas Celeste, if I didn't have Celeste, I could just play Super Meat Boy, which is minus the story, just as good. It's just as technical, just as
Or N+.
pinpoint precision. The presentation's good. I don't know. I've brought a 5th game in now.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Just breaking all the rules. Yeah, so I'm still gonna have to stick with Binding. I'm bound.
I mean, guys, Ben, come on.
What do you mean?
You've played enough Binding of Isaac to know that game is something.
Kevin, Celeste was my
think
number
of this-
one game. Like,
Think of the satisfaction you get when you get a few items in Binding of Isaac,
yeah.
and the
Getting
synergy
the dream
is
run.
like so
that
amazing.
satisfaction is just
Ev-
minuscule in comparison to beating levels on Celeste.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man.
You
Because
haven't played
like,
Celeste?
You never played the Lost, where one hit is lose.
No, I haven't.
It's when you finish a run on that character.
This could go on forever, honestly, because there is no way that I'm picking Binding of Isaac over Celeste, and there's no way that Dan's doing that either. So.
I said this would happen when I found out there was going to be an even number of people.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be a coin flip.
A coin flip to
Gonna
decide
our
indie game of the decade.
by
We're doing a coin
at this
flip.
point.
I mean, how else are you gonna do it? How else are we gonna choose this game? Because I ain't budging.
At this point of the games left, the only game I would budge on Binding of Isaac is Hollow Knight.
Yeah, out of all the games that are left, the only game that would budge for Binding of Isaac is none of them.
Journey, no, just no. And Celeste, a lot closer, but still no. It was good, but yeah, it's.
I can't. It makes me feel a little bit sick, the idea of changing from Celeste to Binding of Isaac. Like, I know Binding of Isaac's a good game, but Celeste was just...
Great game.
Half decent.
Great game.
We need to think of it like, in the end of it, what game do you want to win? Because out of all the 4 games, but out of the 4 games that are left, think about what could win in the other half, and think about what one is more likely to win against in this one.
Definitely.
It's more likely to, okay. So do you reckon Journey's more likely to beat Binding of Isaac or Celeste?
Deserves to beat them both.
Okay, yeah, but what was it more likely to beat?
Okay, I'm changing my vote, but I hate myself. I hate myself so much right now, and I'm never budging again. That is it. That is my last budge.
Don't do it, Ben. Don't do it.
That is it. No, I'm doing it.
You're making the right choice.
No,
Ben,
I'm not.
Ben, we can bribe them. We can try something else.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I've still got Hollow Knight in, so... Okay, last round of the semi-finals. Journey versus Hollow Knight. I vote for Hollow Knight.
Journey. See, Ben said Journey. Did everyone hear
I
that?
said Hollow Knight.
Journey. So there's 2 votes for Journey. Well,
Pretty sure I said Hollow Knight.
I vote for Hollow Knight as well.
here we go. My favourite game.
Don't worry, Dan, I got you, mate.
Oh,
Yes, Kev.
fuck right off.
Good game, Kev. It's a great game. You'll never
Thing
forget.
is,
How long
though,
do you want this podcast
actually-
to be? You want it to be like 5 hours? Because I will never, ever in a million years budge from Hollow Knight, and you know that.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that I was told the Hollow Knight was going to be really good and I should really play it, and I played it and I was disappointed.
But you're wrong then. Then you didn't get into it or something. You're wrong, because it is a masterpiece, honestly.
I've been told that Journey's really good, but then I could play that game and I might not like it either. So I'm in a bit of a limbo right here, because I've already been disappointed by one game. I could potentially be disappointed by another game.
Kev, I can literally guarantee you, if you put a bit more effort and played a bit more
What
Hollow
do you
Knight...
mean? I played that game and I just got bored of it.
How many hours you played of it?
Did you see that?
I don't know.
Can you see that on Xbox?
I'm surprised you didn't like Hollow Knight, because you liked Ori and
Ori and Blind Forest is just something that I've never played a game anywhere close to it. It was
So
that good.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps then, what did you think of that?
Oh, that was... Well, yeah, that was like both of them games were like pretty much identically as good as each other.
Okay, so Will of the Wisps is basically a rip-off of Hollow Knight. So therefore...
And it does it so much better.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Oh, God, for God's sake.
The thing that put me off Hollow Knight a little bit, and I think the reason I didn't play it consistently sort of all the way through, was I found it incredibly confusing, like navigating around and knowing what to do next and where to go. And I get to a certain area and I wasn't sure if I was in the wrong place or I was under-leveled or there's somewhere else I should be first. It was just a bit disorienting, and I felt like it could have done with a bit more, not too much more, but just a bit more direction. It just threw me off a bit. I was like, oh, and the thing is, if you put that game down and come back to it a couple of weeks later, it's so hard to pick up where you left off. And the idea of starting again is daunting as hell.
I hate this.
My screen went black just as everyone went silent there. And I thought, oh no, my computer's turned off.
I had to resist quite a lot to not say just get good.
But it's not about getting good, though, is it?
It is about getting good.
No, because you get lost half the time.
Under-leveled means nothing. You just play better.
Under-leveled? Can you be under-leveled in that game?
No, I mean there
Not really,
are
no.
there are areas that I think
There are areas with tougher enemies.
yeah, but it's just way too much of a curve. I think there's an importance to a good skill curve, and like I found myself in, I think it was, I don't know, a certain area, and then I was in like the Mantis village or something, and those guys were fucking me up. Those guys were so hard. Like I just couldn't get it, I didn't feel like I had the right weapons or the right skills to dodge them. It was just a headache at that point. I had to like backtrack too much, and it's not like Metroid Prime backtracking. It's like, okay, I have to backtrack all the way back there. It was a bit of a headache.
Also, you can enter parts of that game where you are by far not prepared in any way for it. I mean, I've faced like I'd say about 5 bosses probably in this game, and 4 of them I found were near enough like just a walkover. I found them quite easy. One of them I found was near enough impossible to beat, because I'm assuming there was an ability or something I just didn't have to counter it, because I somehow wandered myself into a place that I've never I shouldn't have entered. I shouldn't have been allowed to go there yet, but I was there.
You know what? Adam's thing about the whole get good thing is so applicable here. It's unreal, because I've never heard so many excuses in my life.
How is it applicable there?
It's just you're saying, oh yeah, but you know, there's certain
Actually, you know
so
what, Ben? You never even
like
faced that monster, so you wouldn't even know. So be quiet. You even told me you never even faced it. So
maybe not. Fine, whatever. But I don't know. Whatever. But I'm saying that.
No, but the game was easy though. It wasn't even that hard.
But how? But you're complaining about that boss being too hard.
Yeah, because it decided to put me into a place that it didn't belong at that point.
You went there.
Okay, I shouldn't have been allowed to go there. They should have put a barrier there or something.
What? I don't. I'm not listening to any of this, man.
I'm nitpicking, to be honest. I think Hollow Knight's amazing, and I do want to go back to it when I've got 30 hours or however long it takes to go back to it. But I just think you can't pass up Journey for like a 4 or 5 hour experience, one sitting, headphones on, just takes you to another world. I'm not budging on it. I'm sorry, it's my favourite game of all time, without even a shadow of a doubt. I can't budge on it.
There's no way I can budge on this, man. I'm not. I budged last round as well. I've already got rid of Celeste for frickin' Binding of Isaac. You think I'm going to get rid of Hollow Knight? Hell no. And I like.
Nothing.
My issue is that I know you two will enjoy it, and I know you two will love and adore this game if you just put the little bit of effort required to get into it.
What little bit? I put a little bit of effort in. I put enough time of my life into this game, and it just wasn't that good.
I'm happy for Hollow Knight to go through.
Die in a hole.
But it's not going to be me doing it. Kevin, if anyone's going to budge, it's going to have to be you, Kevin.
Why have I got a budge?
Because you haven't even played any of them.
What?
Sorry, you haven't even played Journey. You've played a bit of Hollow Knight.
But I don't believe Hollow Knight deserves to be in the final, considering I could have chose Hollow Knight as one of my games, but it didn't even make my list. I didn't even go. I saw the game. And I was like,
Kevin, you put Overcooked in. You put Overcooked in and didn't put Hollow Knight in. Do you understand how much of a travesty that is? That is Overcooked is a joke. I cannot believe that happened.
Overcooked is a fun game, and it's different, and it's a good difficulty.
So's Hollow Knight. It's like the perfect difficulty progression. If it was too hard, I wouldn't have played it. I don't even play Doom on the right difficulty, apparently, so it can't be that freaking hard, can it? Whew.
You just hit a move. It's easy. Just get good.
Kev, you're going to have to change, man.
Why me? Where did this come from? Why me?
Because I'm not changing, right? Adam, are you changing?
Nothing I've seen of Journey has made me want to play.
Perfect. Adam's not changing. Dan's not changing.
I'm deeply emotionally attached to Journey. Deeply.
Kev, it's going to have to be you, or this is going to be a very, very long podcast.
Kevin, neither of these are yours. You have no horse in this race.
Yeah. What's going to be Hollow Knight versus Binding of Isaac?
Just vote for Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, I know, it's going to be an easy one.
Hollow Knight. Boom.
Yeah, sure, Hollow Knight.
I accept, sadly.
So, the final for the indie game of the decade is Hollow Knight versus Binding of Isaac.
I'll be honest, at the beginning of this was not the fight I was expecting.
No, same.
Obviously,
I was expecting
I was
Hellblade to
surprised
be
they
in the
managed to
final.
get binding this far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I vote for Hollow Knight.
Oh.
I vote for binding.
I vote for Hollow Knight.
It's my game. I have to pick it.
No, you don't. Celeste
Not
was my game.
necessarily.
I freaking let Binding of Isaac go
Well,
through.
I mean, I have to pick it originally. I can change my mind.
All right.
You should change your mind.
Kevin?
Kevin?
Oh, you know my answer.
Well, we meet again, guys. Back in
This should
Stalemate
be a coin
Village.
toss.
Say that again, Kev?
This should be a coin toss.
Not coin tossing
No.
for the final.
No,
freaking
not doing that.
game of the
Hollow Knight
decade.
has to have it on the world building alone for sure. Like you have to just think back to when you did play it and take in the atmospheres and the views, frankly, which is a weird thing to say in that sort of game, but the landscapes and the views and the backgrounds and the characters that you meet, the wordless strange bug entities, and the sense of, as Adam said earlier, the sense of civilization and life. It feels like a world that has tons of life in it and yet has completely died. There's just something so unique about that set and setting.
Yeah.
Can't take away from that.
But I think the Binding of Isaac setting is also extremely well done.
Yeah.
It's taken all these things from various sort of folklores and religion,
Yeah,
packaged it all together, and it works. And
that's the thing. It's just
cutesy art style is great.
Think of it. Think of another game
I mean,
where you
just-
go into your mother's womb.
Look up Binding of Isaac Chubb
I've seen Chubb.
Look how
and
happy
tell
he
me that's
is.
not a cute guy.
That,
terrifying.
that was the only good thing
look how
about
happy he is.
that was the only good thing about Hollow Knight was those like
Kev,
little,
don't you fucking dare say the only good thing about Hollow Knight.
you know those guys you save in the jars, the caterpillars. They were quite fun.
Cute as hell.
Kev, if you start
look
getting
up-
death
look up
threats,
Chubb. Look how
alright,
happy
that's
he
I'm
is.
fine with that.
What?
If Kev starts getting death threats from all his shitting on Hollow Knight, then I'll be okay with that.
You know what? I just think it was because I went from such a great game to something a bit mediocre. That
Oh,
probably made me not like it as much.
Oh man. Oh. See, the funny thing is that I adore Ori and the Blind Forest, and I adore Ori and the Will of the Wisps, but Hollow Knight is a better game.
It's just not though, is it?
But Binding of Isaac, on the other hand, is even better.
Doesn't deserve to be game of the
It
decade.
doesn't deserve to be game of the decade.
We're taking in like
Neither does Hollow
10
Knight.
years of art and development and progressive design, all sorts of components that make up.
Well, then you're penalising it for coming out earlier.
I'm penalising it for having such an easily replicatable premise. It's just a top-down bullet hell game.
I mean, Hollow Knight's just a Metroidvania. There's loads of them.
But Binding of Isaac hasn't done anything.
Ollie and the
apart from
Blind
having-
Forest, I heard, is better.
Apart from having a variety of weapons and making the behavior of the bullets change with, you know, stacking upgrades, there isn't really much else to it. It's just dodging stuff and running around in circles. You know, there's no
No, it's
precision,
not.
there's no aim. There doesn't feel like there's much skill involved apart from being good at dodging moving things.
What? So the premise of the game, that is what the skill is. That's the same thing as
It's
Hollow
dodging
Knight.
stuff.
Yeah, it's the same thing as Hollow Knight.
Yeah, Hollow Knight.
You just
Hollow
have to
Knight's
dodge
just
things.
dodging stuff.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight is
No, Hollow Knight is not that. You
so much more than that.
How?
Plus, there's only one weapon, so there's less. I mean, it's even
Yeah,
easier.
but that's the point. Is the fact that there's one weapon and it still manages to have a combat system that progresses and gets harder throughout the game and makes you work on your skills and gives you a variety of different enemies, which all feel
Does
like
it get?
different
Does
encounters.
it progress though, or do you just have to hit stuff more and dodge stuff more?
No, it does progress. Like there's tons of ability. Like the things that that Ori people completely ripped from them. the like medals and stuff and tokens and abilities and stuff that you basically customize to create your character to do different things. So like mine, I could poison the enemy, for example, using a certain projectile thing.
I don't remember any that significantly changed how I played the game.
There was quite a few.
But it might have been that I just didn't get to those.
How far much did you play?
I can't remember. It's been quite some time.
Yeah, it's
I played a fair amount.
There's quite a lot of variation in it, in my opinion.
The game clicked for me after the first major boss, the big floating spirit bug thing, like the psychic wizard bug or whatever it was. I don't remember what it was called. Like that. After finally beating that boss, it all clicked for me, and I realised how well made the combat is. Like, it's really good combat.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're similar in a kind of way, like with the dodging and hitting is kind of, I guess, how a lot of games are made, so they're similar in that sense. And my issue with this whole thing is that I love both of these games. I love all of these games, pretty much, apart from Terraria. And and I don't want any of them to lose, but they're in this situation, the world building in Hollow Knight and the characters and the fact that they made like a miniature RPG in a miniature world with just some of the best music from anything ever, with so many standout moments in it. For a side-scrolling RPG, Metroidvania style game, to have that many standout moments is just insane, and it's just a remarkable achievement for what games should strive to be. And like, it's just a masterpiece, simply put. Like,
one thing that loses its credibility is the amount of games that both you and Dan say that the music is like a one of a kind. You say that for so many games that after a while it loses a lot of credibility.
But we mean it when we say it.
Yes.
We're not just.
We are talking about indie game of the decade here, Kev. So
but you say that about everything though. Like anything that has relatively okay-ish music, or like it has one of like probably the best music I've ever heard.
No, that's bullshit.
I ain't gonna listen to your opinions on music. Just say
all the time.
There's I think I can think of maybe 3 or 4 games that have masterpiece soundtracks.
Yeah.
And I could probably think of about 15 games that you've probably said that it's probably got.
All right, let's move on to that then. Go on. Give us 15 games you said that the music was a masterpiece.
We'll come on to that later in a different discussion.
Hold on. That might be my podcast. We'll save that.
Come on, guys. One of you's got to do it.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not budging for Binding of Isaac again, but it shouldn't have even got this far, to be honest. And it shouldn't have got this far.
Yeah, he does.
I feel like it's the plucky underdog, and therefore it deserves
No way, man. I'm not ruining the entire credibility of the podcast by saying Binding of Isaac is better than Hollow Knight, because it's not.
I mean, like, the only reason that I let Hollow Knight into it because I knew that it shouldn't deserve to win the best game of the decade, so that's why I let it in.
And I find Binding of Isaac to be a little bit samey, and like the repetition of it doesn't do anything for me at all.
I think you're playing it wrong.
That's the point of a roguelike, but that particular one doesn't do it for me. I don't feel like there's any point to it.
Could be it forever.
I mean,
hold on, I've got a roll of toilet paper in front of me and a whiteboard marker. I'm going to start writing pros and cons. Let's go. I only have one square though, so let's keep it brief.
Well, just like this podcast, under an hour.
Yeah. See, stalemates, man. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
the problem is we chose contentious subject for the first one.
We did.
And
the other podcast stuff probably not going to be. We're not going to be pitting stuff against each other.
Exactly.
That's true.
That is very subjective.
I think. I mean, to be fair, Ben picked the subject, so it's Ben's fault.
It is my fault. Yeah,
man. Get a grip of your podcast, mate.
Therefore, his vote for Hollow Knight should be.
And as host, I've decided that Hollow Knight wins.
I mean,
Post advantage.
you do have all the power to do that. So
No, I
go,
don't
go
have
for
the
it.
host advantage. I don't have the power to do that, but Adam, just change, man. Kevin's never going to change because he's a stubborn bastard, but...
I'm really not, though. I'm pretty sure I've given up the most in this entire thing. I gave up all of mine.
I'm happy with Binding of Isaac coming second.
Oh,
you scared me for a
such
second.
a batty boy.
But it doesn't mean I'm gonna bend. Binding of Isaac first.
Yes.
You better be joking, Adam.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. I want to go to bed. Look, I loved both games. The only reason I can't really choose one or the other, or the reason why I like one more, is my subjective preference of genre.
Yeah, and that's fair.
And that doesn't really factor in game of the decade, really.
Well, there you have it.
So, yeah, Hollow Knight.
Good choice, Adam.
Good choice, Adam.
Alright,
That's
I'm
the
gonna
correct
go,
choice.
guys.
You're allowed to stay. You can come for the next
Yeah.
episode.
I was thoroughly disappointed by this podcast.
I feel like it's more of a joint first situation.
I mean, to be honest, these are the top 16 games of the decade. It's a bloody good title for any of them to have in it. So
Especially from the renowned Praise the Pickle.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. Our indie game of the decade is the well-deserved
No.
Hollow Knight.
Yay!
Boo. Boo.
Yeah, I'll post Kevin's address if anyone wants to send any hate mail to him for this.
Can I just want to cover my own back from death threats. I did shit on Binding of Isaac a bit just so Hollow Knight could win, but I do think it's a good game, and I think for the fact that it's lasted this long over the space of when did it come out? 12,
2014.
13?
It came out in 2014.
Just shows how much of a better game it is.
That timeless and defined the genre in a way. I do think it deserves accolades, all the accolades that it got, and all the accolades that it'll probably keep getting. But I stand by my choice of me.
It's got a card game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Does Hollow Knight have a card game?
No. All right. Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, even though we shat on a few of these games, that it wasn't intentional. It was just for the sake of the game and the sake of the competition to get a winner. But we love all of them except for Terraria and
Gris
And
and
pretty
Hollow
indifferent
Knight
to
and
there you have it. Indie game of the decade, Hollow Knight. Hell yes.
Love you, Nomada Studios.
Yeah.
But listen to Adam.
we're gonna lose
that's it.
so many people who ever listen to this. So sad. So sad.
This is how we filter our new audience for season 2.
Yeah.
Oh, there's gonna be so many debates, man. Oh, it's gonna be horrible.
This is the sieve. The content sieve.
The content soup. All right. This is it. So thank you very, very, very much for listening. If you guys wanna just follow us on any of the social medias, or just send us a lovely email or a lovely DM or whatever, Kevin, how do they do it?
You can hop over to Instagram, which is Praise the Pickle Podcast. You have Twitter and Facebook, which is Praise the Pickle. Or you can send us an email if you've got anything to say to us, if you disagree or anything. It's just praisethepicklepodcast@gmail.com.
Brilliant, thank you. .com indeed. Thank you for listening, everybody. Love you. Leave you until next time. Toodaloo.
Bye.
Pickle!
Bye.